All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to allow a lot of time for discussion because it is our first one. There may be just some things that pop up. And the reason I chose property reports for our very first monthly title talk is because each time that I've had the opportunity to go talk to teams or a manager's retreat, really opened my eyes in how much it really can help agents. I mean, I was already of the belief that it can, and we'll go over that, but the discussion that it sparked on a not so tantalizing or exciting topic really, made me think that let's start with this. Future topics next month will be title theft. That is a very real thing. It's a certain group of people are being targeted, but we'll go into more detail then about how you and your clients can monitor yourself. So as we go, we're going to try to take feedback from people. If there's topics that you think are more relevant, just shoot me an email and we'll get that in there. But we're going to go ahead and start with property reports. So property reports, in my opinion, is the most underutilized tool that we have so far. It does not cost you anything. There's a fee that we pay on our side, but this is something that we believe is so valuable that we wanted to pass it on free to you as a means of trying to earn your business instead of just asking you to send us business without us, providing support. It was the quickest way. And I wish I could take credit for having come up with the idea, but I didn't. It was in existence before I came here. So kudos to whoever that was, probably Ashley Williams or Karush or both. But what property reports is, it's a compilation or summary of online information that you guys probably already know how to do. We just can do it very quickly and compile it. We'll look at the deed to see who is on the last recorded deed. We will give you tax information, sale of that property, and any open deeds of trust that are still there. And the most common situation is there's an open deed of trust. It was paid because there's been a refinance or whatever reason. That bank hasn't gone in and satisfied it of record. So that's what it means. In that particular situation, it is very helpful for you to know ahead of time, way before your target closing date, because in the state of North Carolina, attorneys can do what's called a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. A lot of them don't like to do it, but it is their legal right. If they feel that they've got enough evidence and enough information to send out a notice to that last lender, maybe they've got some sort of means of finding where that last address was, they can send out a notice to that creditor that says, hey, if you still have a lien on this property, you have 30 days from the date of this notice to reply to me. Otherwise, I'm going to declare it being satisfied, and so on and so forth. Like I said, a lot of attorneys don't like to do it. Most of them, though, from my understanding, working with them directly as well as on the title insurance, they don't have time to do that. Most attorneys, when you send that contract to them, they're not going to start the title search until about 3 weeks before the target close date. There's a lot of reason behind that. The main one is the lenders need the commitment and the insured closing letter to be within 30 to 60 days of closing. So if they do it too far in advance, they'll have to do another update. And whether they have a staff person that's doing that, that's more work for them. Or if they're contracting out, that's another expense that they really don't want to or need to incur, with the exception of when an old deed of trust is still showing open in the records. So if you are representing a seller, it's very helpful. And even if you're representing a buyer, you just want to get a feel for how things are going, because again, it's a free service to you, and we can do it pretty quickly. We say within 1 business day. Obviously, if you text us or email us at
everybody's doing coming soon.
Huh? Oh, So obviously, if you email us at
Yeah,
4.
I'm not writing that check until I see it. We're like, well, we're not putting it live until
Allie?
you write the check.
You can click on participants and then hit mute all. It seems like some people aren't muted. It should be at the top.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you for that assistance. Okay. So if a property report, if you look like you're going to list a property or talk to a seller, if you shoot us the email or shoot us the property address to our orders@charlottetitle.com, and I have this at the bottom of the page, and I'll send this out to everyone. But if you send us the property address and the county, we'll go and look that up and we'll get it to you within 24 hours or within the next business day. And if you see that there is a deed of trust that's out and you talk to the client and they're like, no, I paid that off, or if we see that there's a second loan that's a lot more expensive, it's likely been paid off because a lender's not gonna, give you a $300,000 loan if there's a $50,000 one still out there unpaid. But it gives you that opportunity to immediately go to the closing attorney or go to the buyer's agent and say, hey, we've done a little preliminary search of online records and this old deed of trust is still out there. So we want you to let that closing attorney know so that they can get on the ball of closing it. Because again, if they don't have any sort of notice, the closing attorneys are not going to get that opportunity to close out that deed of trust. So that is something that can be helpful. Very
Hey,
helpful
Allie?
in staying on track.
Does that count in South Carolina as well as North Carolina? The
Yes,
same
South
process?
Carolina also has that right. I don't do a lot with South Carolina, but I'm 99% sure both states have that right. Okay. The other thing that property reports can do is reveal weird or unusual situations. The second most common is a divorce situation. So maybe or maybe you don't know, your client's telling you, oh yeah, I've been divorced 20 years or whatever the case may be, but we pull it up and the last deed of trust, the last deed shows both names. So you want to, talk to your client and make sure they're still in touch or can get in touch with it. Because even though their divorce decree says so-and-so gets the property, a lot of times that attorney, that's family law, that's his or her, lane of specialty. And they're just writing down that, yes, you get this property, but very rarely do they take that next step and actually have a deed recorded transferring it from one spouse to the other. So yeah, you've been divorced X number of years. I just want to make sure you're in contact with that ex-spouse because they are going to have to sign off on this property. You'll have to check with your BIC about whether or not they, be signing your agreement as well. I don't know, but there's another perfect situation where you want to look and go, uh-oh. The third, and doesn't happen a lot, but I've got some examples, is just a save your time type situation. You got a piece of property that was referred to you, you talked to the seller, maybe you have just a funny gut feeling, which is what Teresa O'Kelly had earlier, about midweek. Yes, last week. She just had kind of a funny situation. The seller just was telling them things. Yes, we're divorced, but the ex, was in a hospital for various reasons. There was just a lot of storytelling that was going on. And she was like, let me just check the property and make sure I even want to list the property. Do I want to tie in months of effort and marketing dollars trying to sell a piece of property that's going to be difficult to sell? So on my screen, I'm going to flip over, hopefully. Is that the one? Right. Yes, this is the one. So this is what a property report will look like. Let me make it. So it's just usually it's just a one-page summary. We'll give you the day, the parcel ID, county. You can just see all the information. We gather it from a couple of different places, taxes, whether they're paid or not, the tax value, which you probably have already looked into, but we just give you a one-page summary. Down here, I want you to take a look at see attached agreement. I've never seen this. I've worked with attorneys directly and title insurance for over 20 years, and I've never run across this particular situation. Down here at the bottom, you're seeing see attached agreement with MV Realty of North Carolina. So the sellers have signed an agreement with this particular company that they have exclusive rights to sell this property. Well, our agent didn't know that. The seller forgot. I don't want to say conveniently forgot. It sounded like there was a lot of trauma going on, and then there probably was some default situation going on before that. It may be this MV Realty, maybe they're an investor that specializes in trying to get to clients before they, are in a foreclosure situation. And so anyway, a 40-year right to sell, and this is what it looked like. So it's a memorandum of the agreement, just putting everybody on notice that these two have signed over their rights to MV Realty North Carolina. And it's somewhere in here, gave me right here, 40 years from the date of this document. So again, I've never run into this, but I know a similar situation happens when I'm in a closing, and I used to work for attorneys. They have the right of first refusal. Same kind of concept. I imagine if our agent, for whatever reason, wanted to do this, they would have to reach out and get something in writing from these people saying that, they can sell or they're giving up that right, which I don't know why they would, but immediately Tracy was like, oh, well, thank goodness. I'm not going to sign this agreement with them. So she had done all of this before she, signed that agreement and got locked into anything with her. So she was quite happy, and I was just blown away that this happened right before, our first title talk. So this is really unusual, but I've been with the company 5 years. We've done this the whole time. I've seen this come out. I've seen the others that we've mentioned. It just kind of amazes me, the things that I learn, and it's just a huge saver for you. Even if you don't have a gut feeling, if you've got the time, send it, see what's out there. You're at least getting a little snapshot of what's going on and whether or not you're going to be able to stay on track with closing. You're being helpful to the closing attorney. They're still going to do their actual full-blown title search. So only a licensed attorney can do a title search involving a closing. This is called a property report and has a very different name because it's literally just a compilation of information that is out there publicly. The only exception, well, it's still publicly, but is the North Carolina judgment search. That's a subscription. It's pretty costly. So most people, not even a lot of law firms don't even have it, but we pay for that because we see a value in giving one more piece of information. This is a same name search. It may not be your client. So just, beware when you're having that conversation with them, see how they're reacting to that information. It may be them, it may not be them. It may be them and they didn't know that it had escalated to that far. So it's just giving you information to have an educated conversation before you sign on that dotted line. Let me see if I can pull up the next one. And it'll be my last example, and then we can open up for talk and go back and forth if we need to. But the record holder of the most outlandish thing that I've ever run across is Cogdill. This is in 2017. Let me a second to pull this up. Here's the property report. And this over here. I just love this one. This up. There we go. Okay, does everybody see now a new property report from November of 2017?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, this property, it's a bit of an unusual name, and I'll tell you why that's pretty relevant. So we've got the tax information, all the usual stuff. We've got a mortgage that's out there from 2007. What the heck? We have a lien from the Department of Justice that was filed in 2015. Okay, so in reading this information, you got a mortgage first in 07, well before this particular document was recorded in 2015. This is that document. Never seen anything like it before or after. It is literally titled Notice of Lien, Death Penalty. It's a terrorism lien for $1.7 million from the U.S. government. I was like, well, wow, Tanya, I don't know what this is, but even if this isn't your customer, this is going to be really, really hard to prove it is or isn't and get it resolved in a reasonable time frame. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I mean, it gave me chills. So there's information when documents like this come up. They used to years and years ago, they don't even do it on federal tax liens. Well, they still do it on federal tax liens, but on just general documents like this, they used to include the last 4 digits of someone's social security number. So that was an almost immediate invalidation. Okay, this isn't the right person because I've got their card. This doesn't match, and off we go. They rarely do that now. Only federal tax liens do that now. So there's really no way, other than going to the U.S. government, good luck finding that, to resolve this, to find out what it is. I looking through the documents, we see that, the assistant United States attorney prepared it, but no information. How do I get a hold of it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at this, it's kind of dumb that the preparer, whoever it was, whether it was a law firm or the United States, government entity, I see no information to even pay it off. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a legitimate thing and I know that's out there, I got to pay it off. There's nothing on here. So of course she decided not to sign the agreement and try to sell the property. And I just obviously love to tell this story because it's so weird. Very few and far in between. Like I said, that was 2017. It was labeled. I've done thousands since then and never seen anything quite this wackadoodle. But it just goes back to show you that it doesn't hurt to get that information. Definitely, if you're just not sure, if there's something out of the norm, let's get it. Let's find out what it is. I believe that's all the points that I wanted to cover. I will say this too. If you're representing the buyer, it doesn't hurt to get this as well. I just think from your perspective, the best use of this tool that's underutilized is before you sign that listing agreement. We are committed to getting it back within a business day. If you email us in the morning, we usually will get it by the end of that business day because of these reasons. We run across them so many times that we're pretty quick on getting that back, exception being if it's at the end of the day. But we try very hard because we believe those people who are utilizing this tool are waiting before they sign on the dotted line. But again, if you're representing the buyer, it doesn't hurt to let us know, hey, I represent the buyer. This isn't a rush, or if you're sending us 2, 3 or more, it may take us a little bit longer than a day. If you're sending 3 or or more in one email. That's fine. We have agents that do that. Just kind of, keep that in mind. But is there any questions? Let me go here and see if I can unmute. I guess I should unmute you, Haley. Did you have any questions? I see the chat, but you've probably been monitoring it.
So I didn't see many questions come through in the chat. Susan Robertson did have a comment. She said that she had, I don't remember what she was referring to, but she said, I had this happen last year, thanks to executive title. It got fixed and closed on time. She said that she also had an IRS lien on a listing that executive title found, and the sellers got it cleared in time. So that's just a testimonial to executive title and how effective it can be, or it is.
You want to, thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. I was trying to unmute you, but it's I'm not doing something right. If I unmute everybody, if somebody has a question, is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, people can unmute themselves.
Okay.
And you can also request people to unmute themselves by hitting the.
I saw that, hovering over them and ask to unmute. Okay.
I was gonna say, Angie, I think you have more power than you actually do.
I have little power. That's why I don't know what I'm doing. Well,
I can share a story. I didn't get any help on this one because I was actually with a different company when this happened. So this free service is a wonderful thing, and many of you have heard this story already. But I had a situation with a listing that was in the mid 200s, one owner property. It was new construction, and didn't have this service to use. And we got up to just a few days before closing and found out that this mid $200,000 house had a $2 million lien on it. The lien, what had happened was because it was new construction and the builder had taken down a group of lots. And when my folks closed on it, that lot never got released from their loan. And we found out, as I said, just a few days before closing, and the builder was then out of business. The developer was out of business. The lender was out of business, and the closing attorney had died. And the homeowner couldn't find their title insurance policy. So if we'd known that 3 or 4 weeks earlier, it could have made things a lot smoother. We got several attorneys involved all across the country, and we got it cleared up after about 2 weeks with the title company actually insured over that situation, but it could have been a nightmare. We had some buyers that were flexible enough to be able to work with us, and we got it done. But your service is very valuable.
Oh, wow. That was that perfect storm, was it? I knew you were going to say the builder was out of business, because obviously we all know the big big boom that happened.
Even the attorney or the agent involved at that time wasn't licensed anymore, so I couldn't even track anything down through them. It was fun. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Anybody else have any horror stories? No.
Well, yeah, I had one. Just in fact, last summer, Allie, and I kicked myself because I didn't call you on this one. But I had a home that was owned free and clear by a physician. And fortunately, we found out pretty early on, but a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before closing. But even though she owned it free and clear and thought it had been detached from everything, she actually had a $1 million judgment against her.
Oh, it was
and that judgment was still holding on to this home as well. And she actually, rather than my buyer was so invested, wanted to help her fight this, but she actually was so discouraged over it that she pulled it off the market and refused to sell for now, and said she may revisit it in a couple of years. But I felt really bad. But it is something that could have been addressed much earlier on. Even, had I been the listing agent and could have done that title search prior to even the listing, we could have found that out, and it could have certainly saved a lot of headache and grief over it.
Yeah, because you got to think sometimes these people they really don't know, with banks changing servicers and selling this and that, or they've moved and the notice, forwarding mail. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can imagine is a surprise to them. So knowing in advance lets them, do some of their own research or thinking, when they're not so, shell shocked by what you've just revealed. It's just more information to have, that we're happy to do. It's definitely information that's online. This is just for our agents. We cannot forward it to anybody outside. We had one of our underwriters kind of question this practice, saying, but this, could fall into, interpretation of law. And our argument was, nobody's interpreting anything. This is online information, even the judgment system. If me as an individual, I wanted to reach out to the North Carolina judgment system and pay the cost, I could do that. So that was our argument. Of course, we made them feel better by saying we only share this internally. Now, what you do with it afterwards, they were totally fine. But don't include, or if you do include your client, maybe you represent the buyer and you want to include your client so they're informed. When we reply, we're not going to reply to them. We're just going to take them off so that just you are getting, the information for that reason. But again, whatever you do with it is up to you. I pulled this screen back up and I will send this out to everybody. It just lets you know, send to the our general email box, orders@charlottetitle.com. If you just have the street address, that's fine. If you know what county it's in, that's great, because sadly, the only county in all of North Carolina that we can't do is Union County. They refuse to post their deeds of trust online, which defeats kind of the whole purpose. But if in that county, you kind of got a suspicion, or maybe they've told you, hey, I might have a tax lien, or I might have something out there, we can definitely still look for their name, the same name match, everything else but the deed of trust is there. So, I can do, a general search for you. If you have kind of that one-off situation, just let me know and I'll do that. But if you'll send to that orders, that is an email that's monitored by multiple people, so that we can, see it, acknowledge it, and immediately, get to working on it and get it back to you. If it's not a rush, let us know. But otherwise, we'll make sure we get it back in that business day. It looks like we might be ending early. One of the topics that's listed here, I will probably have a title talk on. It's an enhanced policy, like what the actual difference is between the basic and the enhanced, because we've also had a lot of situations here, and I think Hadi was even one, before we came, where if they'd had an enhanced policy, their situation would have been covered. But most of my competitors, most of them do not know what an enhanced policy is. They don't have comparisons. They just, for whatever reason, they don't know, they don't dig deep. It's title insurance is kind of one of those hidden things that's, part of it. You have rights to choose the title company that you want, et cetera, but really nobody knows or cares. It's just kind of, filing along with everything else. But it's quite remarkable, the difference in coverage for a very, very minimal increase. But we'll, go over that at a different title talk. Next month's will be, and it's always going to be the fourth Tuesday of each month. So it's consistent. If you don't, remember, hopefully you can, see an email or see a Facebook post or something. But February's topic will be title theft. So you may or may not see those. I always see it on Saturday, but I'm sure it airs other time. A big long infomercial about title theft, and it's driven by fear. It is a real thing. It is quite freaky. It's they're usually targeting people or homes where they see little to no traffic. People who own secondary homes, or family homes that they just, want to have, but really nobody's coming in and out on a regular basis. So the perpetrators have like cased the joint, for lack of better words. And then again, here's the downside: the public information is available to them, and they can create a deed. The Register of Deeds office, they don't do anything but record. They're just recording. So that's how that happens. Is they've seen that, they've looked up online, they've created a deed that looks good, it's recorded, and then very quickly they maybe gotten a line of credit, ran it up, taken money that way, or they sold it to somebody else and got money that way. So it's very real. Again, title insurance, a basic policy would not help you in any way because it's post-closing. An enhanced policy would step in. So I'm going to get a little bit more information from Fidelity directly, and maybe they can even join, asking what would they do and have they seen that yet in which they've had to step in. But it is a forgery situation. A big basic difference between enhanced and basic policy is post-closing. Stuff that's happening after the closing, it's just not covered by a basic policy, and in situations are covered by an enhanced. But title theft will be next month, so hopefully I'll see y'all, and I'll send a recap of today, both in the newsletter, and I think Haley's going to post in other places as well.